Have you ever stopped to think about how you launch a 30-ton fighter jet off of a ship that's moving, floating in the middle of the ocean? It sounds like something straight out of science fiction, but it is very, very real. And today we're going to break down the incredible engineering that makes it all possible.
So, let's get right to it. What is the core problem here? How on earth do you get a massive 30-ton machine, absolutely loaded with fuel and weapons, up to flying speed from what's basically a tiny floating city? I mean, it seems completely impossible, right? Well, it takes some serious power and even more brilliant engineering. And here it is. This is the number that makes the whole thing seem impossible. The entire runway you have to work with on the deck of a modern aircraft carrier is only about 90 meters long. That's shorter than a football field. For a supersonic jet.
Yeah, that ridiculously short distance is what engineers call the 90-meter problem. It's the single biggest hurdle that naval aviation has to clear, and overcoming it requires a solution that is nothing short of ingenious.
To put that into perspective, a jet needs a runway 10 to 15 times that long to take off normally. I mean, think about the physics. If a jet just used its own engines on a 90-meter runway, it wouldn't even come close to generating enough lift. It wouldn't soar into the sky, it would just fall right off the end and splash into the ocean. So it needs a little help, or actually a lot of help.
And that help comes from the catapult. You have to think of this thing as the most powerful slingshot on planet Earth. This system is designed to literally grab a hold of a jet and just hurl it forward, accelerating it from 0 to over 250 kilometers per hour in just 2 seconds. It's absolutely mind-blowing. Okay, so we know it's a giant slingshot. But how does this incredible thing actually work? Well, the whole process is like a high-stakes mechanical ballet, where every single move has to be perfectly timed. The official name for all this, the lingo they use, is a CATOBAR system, and that acronym actually tells you the whole story. Catapult-assisted takeoff, which is what we're talking about now, and barrier-arrested recovery, which is the just as crazy way they land. But for now, let's stick with that takeoff.
It all breaks down into 4 critical steps. First up, the hookup. The jet's nose gear gets attached to this little cart called a shuttle that sits inside a track on the flight deck. Next, the tension. The system starts building up a truly massive amount of energy. Then, the stroke. All that energy is released at once, and the catapult yanks that shuttle and the 30-ton jet attached to it down the track. And finally, the braking. The second the jet is airborne, a powerful braking system slams the shuttle to a stop, getting it ready for the very next launch, which could be just seconds away.
Now, for more than half a century, the raw power for this incredible launch came from one thing: steam. But we're right in the middle of a huge technological shift, and it really is a classic battle. The old, trusted workhorse against a brand new, high-tech challenger. For 60 years, high-pressure steam was the undisputed king of the catapult. It just worked. But now, we're seeing the dawn of something called EMALS. That's the Electromagnetic Aircraft Launch System. And this isn't just an upgrade, it's a completely different way of doing things. And when you put the two systems side by side, the differences are, well, they're stark. Steam is powerful, for sure. But it's kind of clumsy. It relies on mechanical valves, so it's less precise. EMALS, on the other hand, is all computerized, giving it pinpoint control. Steam really struggles with planes that are either super light or super heavy. EMALS? You can dial it in for any weight, from a small drone to a heavy bomber. And maybe most importantly, EMALS is way gentler on the planes and needs a lot less maintenance. And this is a crucial point. The steam catapult is kind of a brute. It's this violent, jerky launch that puts an incredible amount of stress on the airframe of the jet. EMALS, though, gives you this smooth, constant push. And that's a huge deal, because being gentler on these multi-million-dollar aircraft means they last longer.
You know, this technology is so complex and so difficult to master that just having it is a massive statement of naval power. A carrier with a CATOBAR system can launch heavier planes with more fuel and more weapons anywhere in the world. It fundamentally changes what a Navy can do, and it puts them in a very, very exclusive club. So just how exclusive are we talking? Right now, there are only just three countries in the whole world that operate aircraft carriers with these powerful catapult systems. So who's in the club? First, you've got the United States, kind of the old pro here, using both the classic steam systems on their older carriers and the new EMALS on their latest ones. Then you have France, which operates a carrier with American-made steam catapults. And then there's China.
And this is really interesting because they made a huge leap, completely skipping the steam era and putting advanced electromagnetic catapults on their newest carrier. That's a huge signal of their ambitions.
So, you have to be asking yourself, right? If this technology is so great, letting you launch bigger planes with more gear, why doesn't every Navy with a carrier just use it? Well, the short answer is, it's incredibly hard and expensive. The challenges are just immense. These systems cost a fortune and are unbelievably complex. They take up a huge amount of space inside the ship, and you need a massive power plant to run them. Often that means a nuclear reactor. And just the steam versions alone need a whole separate system just to produce and store thousands of tons of fresh water. It's a logistical nightmare at sea.
All of this really brings us to the future. And as we've already seen, that future is undeniably electric. Emails isn't just a simple upgrade, it's a gateway to a whole new era of naval aviation. The real magic of emails is in its software. Because it's all controlled by a computer, operators can literally dial in the perfect amount of force for every single launch. They can factor in the exact weight of the plane, what it's carrying, even the wind conditions. It makes every single launch as efficient and as safe as it can possibly be.
And that versatility, that's the real game changer. The ability to fine-tune the launch power means EMALS can handle not just today's heavy fighters, but also the next generation of super lightweight unmanned drones. And that kind of flexibility is something steam catapults just can't match. It's absolutely essential for the future of air power.
So that leaves us with one final thought. As the future of naval aviation includes everything from heavy, next-gen fighters to maybe even swarms of small autonomous drones, has the precise, adaptable power of the electric catapult gone from being a high-tech advantage to an absolute necessity? It's definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining me.